All right, our weekly roundtable, getting ready for a 4-game road trip that begins in 1 hour in Salt Lake City. The Kings, after tonight, will then get the schedule more difficult. They play at Houston, at Dallas, and at Denver before coming home for what looks like Murderer's Row. But the Kings right now beginning this road trip in 10th place. They got a little bit of a cushion now with the team behind them, the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are 3 back in a loss column, but their next 2 games are at home against the Pelicans, so keep that in mind. But guys, here we go. I mean, you're in 10th place, and there are, tonight should be a gimme. Let's just call it the way it is. The Jazz have the worst record in the Western Conference, but after tonight, the schedule gets a lot more difficult.
Oh, absolutely. And even as it is, their 4 best players aren't even playing tonight on the worst team in the West. So it's clearly a must win. And it should be, and I'll be surprised if it's not a very easy win.
The Kings have gotten very lucky with Lauri Markkanen being out of the lineup a ton this year, but John Collins, no Kings tonight. That makes me very happy.
Yeah, well, Colin Sexton, he's been a tough guy. They've had some nice pieces. Clearly, Danny Ainge is thinking wanting to get in the Cooper Flegg.
Of course, they're tanking. They're tanking. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, there's no question about it.
Right. And again, you talk about, Adam Silver and changing the lottery. You only have a 14% chance of getting the number 1 pick, blah, blah, blah. But the Jazz they've pulled the curtain down. Their season is over. And the Kings should win this game tonight. And I know that if you go calm down, they should win this game as easily as they beat their last opponent, the Charlotte Hornets. This should be an absolutely walk in the park type of a game.
Well, it really should. There's no doubt about it. They're Jazz at full strength, as you pointed out. They were still one of the weaker teams in the West in the league, and but now, they're basically playing backup. So, you need to see the same thing we saw the last game against Charlotte. Just go out and beat them down early and stay on it.
Yeah, and by the way, we know the Spurs are going to get the number 1 pick in the draft anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, really. Yeah, that history indicates that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No doubt. I'm going to take it a step further for tonight, guys. I think the Kings need to get this one without one of those third quarters. Every game, the Kings have that lull, that mental break. You can have it for a minute or two. You can't have it for a full quarter.
Yeah. No, you can't.
If you let these guys hang around, especially, on the road, you might get a game. Really, the Hornets, as you pointed out, Ryno, very accurately. There was one little minute stretch there where it looked like the Hornets might get in the game. Got it to 9, I think.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, they became the Hornets again.
They have scored less than 90 points now 3 games in a row. Chew on that. In this day and age of the NBA, that's almost impossible to go 3 games without scoring 90. Jerry, I remember the trip when Dick Motta was coaching, when the Kings went and they played the 3 expansion teams, Miami, Orlando, and Charlotte. And I think they scored, again, I'm doing this off 83, and then the last game, 59. And that's when we were flying home from Charlotte. And Dick Motta actually quit on the flight home, and for some reason, I don't know why, the players talked him out of it. And that was a long-ass flight on that Airball 1. I think we had to stop and refuel twice. And I think we got home at 5 a.m. That's the worst trip I ever remember in terms of, for those that don't remember Dick Motta, his philosophy was use all of the clock on every possession. Yeah, so you didn't score a lot anyway.
No, and with that team, they didn't have, like a lot of the teams at that time, no depth at all. But I always remember Mitch Richmond coming to me, telling me, he said, "Man, he was saying, I'm really pissed at Wayman Tisdale. He went and talked to him out of quitting." He said, he said, "Why'd you do that, Wayman?"
Yeah, I know.
Because
he did, Wayman.
Because Mitch wanted to, because they, didn't want to play every set play. Was it, every time down the floor instead of no transition opportunities or nothing.
Well, but anyway, guys, it's very difficult in this era to do that. I don't think the Jazz, I'll be surprised if the Jazz score 100 tonight. I'm looking at their lineup tonight. I'm like, I don't see how they're going to score 100 unless the Kings just play matador defense. This needs to be a blowout win where Doug can rest the guys, use the entire bench like he did the other night, because, your next game is going to be a hell of a challenge. Houston beat Milwaukee last night, and it looks like they're getting their guys back. They're going to be a very challenging opponent.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. If I wonder if Amin Thompson will get suspended. You would think maybe he would.
Maybe, yeah.
But we'll see. But then again, they're getting healthy. Jabari Smith back, finding his way, and Van Vliet will be back soon. So, but as you said, Houston's, they're good. So it's going to be tough. And I agree 1,000%, man. They get these guys, key guys, as much rest as you can.
Yeah, and get some of the younger guys that are new to this core, that are part of this maybe new rotation that Doug's trying to play every now and again. Get them some run. Let them get some extended minutes, some time together on the court. Can only hurt and not help.
I did like what he did the last game, getting Keon Ellis in quick. At about the 4 minutes gone in the quarter, he subbed Keon Ellis in. So, I think rather than, say taking one of those key guys out and making them 6-man, I think he's, kind of going a different direction at it now. Whether Keon's healthy tonight or not, we don't know. But I thought that was a good move toward maybe solving the main problem, which is get Keon Ellis on the floor a lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't even play Keon tonight. If you need Keon Ellis to beat this Jazz team, then you're not very good anyway. You're going to need Keon Ellis. You're going to need him right. To me, there's absolutely no reason to play Keon Ellis tonight.
No, you're going to need him against Houston and those people.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So again, I know a lot of people are asking if he's going to play tonight. We'll find out, but I would not play him. I would just say we're gonna give you more time off. And I know it's the NBA, and I know that there are no automatic W's, but this is as close as you can get to an automatic W. The Jazz are done. They have pretty much made it very well known what their game plan is the rest of the year. They don't give a damn what the league thinks. And even though they were competitive in their last game against the Blazers, they won't be competitive tonight because they're resting everybody.
Yeah, if it gets close and you see a Jazz guard on a breakaway for a layup, Danny Ainge may run out and foul him.
Danny just very well may do that. You're exactly right.
You do worry, though.
I mean, go ahead. I'm real quickly while we're on the subject, because Jerry, you brought it up. There's some rumblings that he may not even come out. I find that hard to believe, but
yeah, I do too, and I hope he doesn't. For his, if he's enjoying himself, he's
stay
great.
there. Yep.
Stay there, develop. Obviously, he's not going to have a real impact on the team next year.
No.
He's a guy down the road is going to be a real star, I think, but it's not going to happen right away. And now, with the NIL money, I mean, it's not like
there's no reason to come out.
You have to. I mean, because certainly he doesn't come from poverty, and with the money they could get insurance on him in case of injury to kind of protect him a little bit, as well as the school. So, yeah, I think we might see a little more of this, to where a lot of young guys, if they're not sure they're going to be lottery guys, will say, I'll stay another year and where I can increase my value, which they should.
Yeah, the majority of the money in NIL is in college football, but for a small group of guys in basketball, Cooper Flag, basically, there is a lot of NIL money there, especially at a school like Duke. Don't rush it whatsoever. Take your pick of the team that you think you're going to invest into, because you're in a situation where you might make just as much money there in NIL. It's the Wild West right now as you would your rookie year in the NBA.
Different world. I mean, in college basketball, everybody's a free agent every year.
Yep.
Football and basketball, yeah.
I hate it. I don't like it, but it is what it is. I don't like it at all. All right, so when you look at the standings, we talk about some of the other teams. Phoenix had a hell of a game last night, but lost in overtime to Memphis. They come home and play 2 games back-to-back with New Orleans, so you got to figure they're going to win both their games. But I don't like anything about that team right now. I don't know if they're a legitimate threat. They also have a brutal schedule coming up. Their schedule is very, very challenging, and they play the Kings twice. So those games against the Kings will be pivotal. If the Kings win only one of those two games, I don't think Phoenix will be able to realistically catch them, because the Kings would have also at that point won the tiebreaker. So I'm not saying cross off the Phoenix Suns completely, but guys, they're just a mess, aren't they, Jerry?
I think they are. It's really a surprise, you know. I mean, I expected them to be a lot better, and I thought getting the young center they got would help them, but so far it really hasn't. And I don't see how they can pull out of this thing. And you know, and I think the same thing holds true for San Antonio now without Wembanyama. I don't think they're going anywhere. I was
No.
a little worried about them before, but so. But the Kings, for the Kings, the problem is, yeah, you don't want to. Yeah, you probably can stay 10, but that's not where you want to be. So you got to win games to move up.
Yeah, the Kings got to treat everyone like a playoff to get into the play-in. But remind you of this, Phoenix stole a couple of games from the Kings in crucial situations over the past few seasons. So you never know when those two teams get together what it could be when you're dealing with Durant and Devin Booker.
Yeah, assuming they're on the floor, because you never know who's playing when you play the Phoenix
Yeah,
Suns.
that's
All
a
right,
good
so
point.
let's talk a little bit more about this road trip. Assuming that tonight's game is a W, and I know that we've been down this road before, and we should be careful when we do that, but I'm going to assume tonight is a W. Denver, to me, is going to be the most difficult game of this trip. That's my opinion. Houston has not been playing well. They did win last night against the Bucks, but they have not been playing well. They still have some key guys out. Fred VanVleet, I don't think is going to play tomorrow. I think, as Jerry pointed out the other day, and accurately so, spot on, they really miss him.
Yeah.
Dallas, they match up very well. We know Dallas doesn't have any bigs, so the Kings should be able to exploit that. They just played Dallas right before the All-Star break, and they won in overtime. I think they can win that game. So this could be, you got to set the table tonight, but I think this could be a good road trip for Sacramento if they keep moving the ball like they did against Charlotte. If they get ISO stagnant and that assist to turnover ratio is not good, they'll go 1-3 on this trip.
Yeah, that's a key for this team, and we've all talked about it. I mean, is the spacing, the ball movement, good shots. You can get good shots. You got terrific offensive talent, but if you get into the ISO dribble stuff, then you become very guardable. And so, you know, but I'm like you. I think the Denver thing's going to be tough. They're playing well, and you know, Dallas. It really comes down to, I think Keon Ellis got to be healthy, because he's got to be able to guard Kyrie Irving.
Yes. Yep.
You know, I mean, because Kyrie is playing great, and he can keep, and like he did last night, he can keep his team in and give them a chance to win every night.
Yeah. Speaking of last night, Jerry, what do you think of the Lakers now after watching Luka for a few games and LeBron? They played Dallas last night, Luka going against his former team in LA. Do you think they have a chance to be very formidable in the postseason?
I do. Maybe less because of Luka's, and I think he's terrific. He and LeBron's going to be terrific, which we've seen a little of it. But I think when you get into playoff situation, the players get more rest. That means more rest for LeBron. And that makes him even better. And you know, it's like I think what it will do for this Laker team, what Luka will do, is make it so LeBron really can cruise for 3 quarters and then be ready, fresh and ready to be LeBron James in the fourth, which we saw last night, where, you know, fourth quarter he's the best player on the floor by a lot. And they clearly, you know, and with Austin Reeves, they got 3 guys. You know, and I hate to say it, because I mean, but they really know how to play. Really know how to play. You know, and I know everybody talks about their lack of size, but you know, Jared Vanderbilt gives them a long, athletic, young, big. You know, he's not a center, but he could protect the rim a little bit and get out and guard people. And if he stays healthy, I think they're a threat. You know, I think they're a threat.
They're high IQ, and that works across the board in the NBA, playoffs or not. Also, defensively, they've done a decent job of hiding Luka. He hasn't looked like a massive liability, and the ball is getting to where it needs to be, and these guys are making shots. So they scare me.
Thing about Luka defensively, I think he was trying.
Yes,
I don't know. Honestly,
Yes.
he was in a stance and trying to move his feet. I mean, really.
Well, he also was trying to show something to the GM of the Mavs who was at the game, and that was part of it. I think I really believe that.
Oh, I do too. I kind of think that LeBron James and JJ Redick probably going to be a good influence on him. But you're right. I mean, he knew where Nico Harrison was. Not that anybody would, with the light blue suit on, wouldn't have spotted him. Yeah, I was listening to the Wilbon or those guys, and they was talking about it. Like Lucas said, he didn't really see Nico Harrison, and they were saying, yeah, but the same guy that didn't see Nico Harrison could throw a ball over his shoulders perfectly. He got eyes in the back of his head, but couldn't see a guy standing at half court.
That's funny. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
He saw him all right. He saw him.
Yeah, he saw
him.
It.
The Kings defense still got to get a lot better. I don't really take anything from the Charlotte game. I won't take anything from tonight. These are layups. But I think the one thing we can say, other than the game at Washington, this is the last real breather on the schedule for a while. There are no more coming up. All right. After tonight, you put on your big boy pants, because after this road trip, you come home and it is like, oh, wow. And I think San Antonio is a layup, because I think they're done too. I know there's going to be a lot of emotion in the building with Fox coming back, but they're playing for the number one pick now as well. And speaking of Fox, he's the same player in San Antonio to me that he was in Sacramento. And that's a guy that can't shoot. I'm looking at his shooting numbers. It's just is what it is. And he just shoots way too many threes for me. His percentage is not very good. He's dynamic when he wants to be going to the basket. His pull-up jumper, which he stops on a dime, shoots that little 15-footer, to me is unguardable. But if I'm playing defense, I'll let De'Aaron shoot the three all day long. Go ahead. You want to chuck it up? Chuck it up. Go ahead,
Well, I think that's the way teams scheme for him. They know how good he is, and he kind of, lets them dictate. Certainly he can make threes, but not at the percentage you need. And like you said, I mean, he is a killer when he gets into the paint. Certainly that little 15-footer is almost automatic, and then he can draw a foul. So, yeah, it will be interesting, because I followed him, and he's had a couple of rough games where he wasn't very good, and then he's had a couple of really outstanding games. But and now without Wembanyama, I mean, they need him to step up and be that consistent star every night.
And Ryan, what Jerry just said, to me, that's why I'm still okay that the Kings moved him. I'm not crazy for the trade that the Kings made. Those are two different things. Okay. Right. Trading him and getting what they got in return. But I'm not paying a guy that kind of money who looks good some games and doesn't look good in other games. Like, this is the exact same De'Aaron Fox that we saw in Sacramento, where sometimes he would leave you in awe and you're like, oh my God, this guy is so good. Great, on his way to this or that. And then the next two games, you're on the post-game show, and what's wrong with De'Aaron, right? So to me, 100%. I'm not paying a guy that kind of money, Ryan. I'm just not.
Look, if I'm talking about a guy that shot a lot of threes or had a bad game because he had to take what the defense gave him, then you got to live with that. You got to work at your game, get better in the offseason. But when it's a choice to shoot more threes rather than get to the spot where you're best and to help your team, when it's clearly a decision rather than what is going on within the game, that's not the guy you want on your team. This is when you need him in the paint. You saw with Wemby, he was getting 18 free throw attempts, getting inside without Wemby. Back to what we saw here in Sacramento, guys.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Folks, I want to tell you about New Works Plumbing, or rather Sunrise Landing in Calusa. I love talking about Sunrise Landing. I just had somebody 2 days ago send me a nice email that they went out there and loved it and are thinking of relocating to Calusa. If you go to calusasunrise.com, you'll get all the information you need from Blazona Development and Sunrise Landing. Beautiful models to choose from, 6 in all. Remember, no Mellorews, no homeowners. Adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. That's where you'll find Sunrise Landing. Good access as well to the major arteries. Just go to calusasunrise.com. That is calusasunrise.com. And New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. They're available around the clock 24/7 for your plumbing needs and repairs. Check out New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. The information is there on the screen. Give them a call. You will not be disappointed when you need them. they'll be there for you. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. We lead you right into tip-off. We'll adjourn in a little bit and let Ryan take you closer to tip-off as the Kings start this 4-game road trip in Salt Lake City against the Jazz. Again, if you're just joining us, the Jazz are in a load management situation where they're like, you don't need to play. You need to, take the night. Take the night off. That's why they're at right now.
The flu-like symptoms, back spasms, strain the calf. Those things crop up during tank
too cold to get to the arena in time and get ready for the game. All kinds of stuff.
That's one thing you got to give the Kings credit for, guys. They have not been one of those teams that does load management over the past 3 seasons.
No, and the guys really trot out there and they play hurt. I really have a lot of respect for our guys, and I mean that goes for former players like Harrison Barnes and De'Aaron Fox. I mean those guys, you got to give it to them. I mean Keegan Murray, Domas, Malik Monk. I mean they trot out there with injuries. I mean they always say. I mean, and I kind of believe that you can play hurt. You shouldn't play injured, but you can play hurt. Yeah. And too many of the players in today's game, they don't play hurt. And
that's what's wrong with the league, in my opinion. That is one of their biggest issues. And even if it's not a reality issue, it's a perception issue. And the people that say, I don't want to watch the NBA anymore, their perception is the players don't want to play. Now, I don't think that's true. But that's the perception that a lot of people have. And it's a really bad perception for the league. And that's why when Adam Silver comes out at last week's NBA All-Star break and says the state of the game is excellent, Adam Silver is delusional if he thinks the state of the game is excellent. I don't know how anyone can sit and look at this game and say the state of the game is excellent. The money coming into the owners' bank accounts might be excellent. I would agree with that. But the state of the game is not excellent.
No, I agree with you. I mean, certainly it's excellent from the standpoint of the TV contracts, financially. Obviously every franchise's values tripled, and so all that's good. But the game on the court is really needs some changes, and I think that's where they're a little bit delusional, because I think it's a kind of a two-pronged thing. As a fan, you see guys making $40 million a year, $20 million a year, and missing a ton of games or not playing as competitive as they should. And you're also paying more at the box office to get in.
Yep. And
so it's a kind of a double whammy from 40 years ago, where the salaries were, they were tremendous, but nothing like they are now.
And Ryan, think about this. When's the last time during NBA All-Star Weekend the talk was primarily about what's wrong with the game? You had your own announcers and players such as that head case Draymond Green going on TNT, basically lambasting the game. You had other players also talking about what's wrong with the game. You had a lot of players blasting the All-Star format. So that was going on. And the talk was about hockey. All right. The TV ratings, they peaked at 11.5 million for Team USA in Canada in the Four Nations face-off, and the game averaged 9.5 million. Okay, that's the same numbers that the final round of the Masters got. You even had the NBA commenting on the NHL All-Star break. Again, ask yourself, when's the last time that's happened? I don't ever recall the national media and people in the league bringing up hockey during All-Star weekend. I've never heard that before.
No, you do not. You've got LeBron James sitting out for toenail management, but yet you have an American hockey player that had to be hospitalized for an upper chest issue, and he couldn't play. It just sets
a joke. Hey, let me get to Mr. Warrior. If you don't think Draymond Green is a head case, you're delusional. The guy's a freaking head case, okay? Do I understand that he's talented and has been very good for that organization on the floor? Yes. But if you look at his track record, okay, both in his actions and what he says, the guy is a head case. He's extremely unstable, period. And I don't have to know Draymond to say that. My eyes and my ears tell me that he's a very unstable individual. Period. So go back and root for your Warriors.
One thing on the NBA thing too, I'd just throw out along with the hockey, great points all. Hey, Caitlin Clark we became a bigger star than anybody or about as big as anybody in the NBA during the WNBA. She was drawing bigger ratings in WNBA games than the NBA games were drawing. Now,
I would think other than LeBron and Steph, I would say
yeah.
she probably would be in that category. Yes,
Yeah,
I agree with you.
I think, Luke, I mean,
Yep. But you're right. You're right.
She really, on just an average NBA game, and who would have said that 10 years ago? Nobody.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That a WNBA game would outdraw an NBA game on average. But it was a one-off. There's no doubt about that. I mean, and of course, I'm a fan. I love watching her play too. I tune in.
Look, one of the biggest things from All-Star Weekend last year was the Steph versus Sabrina Ionescu shootout where they did the three-point thing, and they were trying to bring something like that together again for this All-Star game, and it fell apart. And I think partially because the women are saying, hey, we're trying to build our game. How about you come do it on our stage? Why are we coming to your stage?
That's it exactly, Ryno. I mean, that's exactly Caitlin's, I think. She knows she's big, and she doesn't have to be a throw-in. It's like, well, we're trying to promote our league. And so maybe Steph or somebody comes, in our skill all-star set or whatever, So it's interesting. But
it's NBA All-Star Weekend. First of all, the WNBA should not be involved in NBA All-Star Weekend. I don't give a damn what the hell they're trying to do. And the NBA should not be involved in the WNBA All-Star Weekend. I'm sorry. Just because it's the same sport doesn't mean that, you got to mix the two during All-Star Weekend. I don't agree with that. I've never agreed with that. It doesn't make sense to me. And by the way, here's something else that's really bad for the league. And it might be entertaining and it might be good for fans because you have a guy that's really trying. But when your NBA slam dunk champ is a non-NBA player for 3 years in a row, that's also a problem for the league. It's a problem.
Well, yeah. And you might as well just open it up to whoever can really, because I know there's a 6'2" kind of white kid that goes around putting on exhibitions that he's every bit as good as McClung. And he can't play basketball, but he's an ungodly jumper.
Let me get to this moron here, okay? Let me. I don't really give a damn if you met Draymond Green and you think he's very intelligent and very friendly. I didn't say he wasn't intelligent, all right? I just said he was a head case. There are a lot of intelligent people that are head cases. The guy is a head case. If you don't think he's a head case, you're living in a freaking cave.
I think we can all agree at the very minimum, guy goes into business for himself. It is about Draymond Green.
Listen, when you call a individual on TV a racial slur, okay, when you cold cock and punch out a teammate with a sucker punch in practice, when you curse at the fans and give the finger to the fans around the NBA, when you admonish the fans in Boston for their behavior, and then you are cursing during the post-game media press conference with your son sitting next to you, you are not a stable individual, okay? You are a head case. So I'm sorry, you can say what, and you can try to defend Draymond all you want. Very good player for the Warriors, yes. Big factor in them winning championships. Yeah, he helped them a lot. He also cost them a championship by getting suspended for Game 5 of the NBA Finals against Cleveland, where Cleveland then won in 7 games. If Draymond doesn't do that, the Warriors don't go to 7 games. They win that series early. I mean, there are a lot of things you can say about Draymond. He doesn't have a filter on him. He doesn't think before he talks. The guy is a head case, period. Here's the guy who says, I'm living in the past. He has been great this year. So let me ask you a question. If an individual commits murder and is in prison and has been great for the year, does that mean that they're just fine and everything's fine and dandy? Like the past doesn't mean anything? Like you're going to erase everything that Draymond's done in his career because he's been good this year? Yeah, that's a great way of thinking. Way to go.
He's been on his best behavior.
Go back and watch your Warriors. Would you please do us all a favor?
Well, at least he has somebody on his team now that could punch him back in the face, and Jimmy Butler.
Well, and Jimmy will.
Yes.
Yeah, there's several chapters haven't been written yet in that book. Just wait.
But I would say this: Jimmy Butler and the Warriors now, that is and Jerry, you talked about this leading up to the break, that short term, this could be very, very good. And right now, that's all the Warriors. They're not looking towards next year. This is short term. They're getting exactly what they want right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mean, really, everybody knows Jimmy Butler when he's focused and he's a terrific player, probably a top 15 guy because he can play both sides of the ball. He's going to impact any team. He's a terrific player. The problem with Jimmy is when he's happy and content, he's one of those special guys that makes you better. But the problem is he isn't happy and content for very long, as has been proven by 4 teams before this. So, but from the Warriors' perspective, they know that they knew that this is kind of maybe the last the window's closing, and Steph needed help, and they got him help, and so credit to them.
Yep. Hey, I'll tell you, Ryno, it wouldn't surprise me if the Warriors move all the way into 6th and don't even have to worry about the play-in. I could see that happening, especially with what's going on with the teams around them. Dallas without bigs are going to have a trouble. To me, the Kings' schedule is way too difficult for them to move up. And then you have Minnesota. And with Minnesota, to me, it's all about their health. When are they going to get back Randall? When are they going to get back Gobert? They're starting to play better. They have Anthony Edwards. They have Naz Reid. But again, it's about health. And you also have to keep in mind, and we don't know about Keon Ellis, but for all intents and purposes, the Kings are really about the only healthy team right now. And if that changes at all, oh boy, that is going to be a real problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I said the exact same thing on my 2:00 show about the Warriors. I think they are moving on up. I would expect them to be in that neighborhood of that 6th seed. It's a perfect matching in this sense. Jimmy Butler plays his tail off, everything that Jerry just said, but now you can't always give that extra attention to Steph. You've got to give some of that attention to Jimmy Butler on those hard cuts, those picks. And so it's opening more things up for him. It's giving Steph that extra life, and both of them see it. They know this is the last run, as Jerry said. So talk about a franchise that within 3 weeks, guys, just turned everything on its head. Warriors were getting killed for not doing anything, and now they're in a great spot.
Yep. Well, you know, that's the thing. You know, we saw it last year with Dallas. They went from barely maybe getting into play-in to being at the, you know, getting the trade deadline, get 2 bigs, two additional players and then they go to the NBA Finals. And I'm sure that's what the Kings are trying to do. Obviously, the Kings team has turned itself. I mean, the talent base is definitely deeper and better. The key is, can you get it to fit?
Don't forget a rant with Grant coming up on the post-game show tonight, brought to you by EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. And right now, David and Adam, they are looking to sell your vehicle. So if you have a vehicle that you are looking to sell, get in touch with David and Adam at EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. You can go to their website as well, edhmotors.com, if you're in the market to buy a vehicle. And if you don't find what you're looking for, don't worry about it. They're decades of experience. They'll get exactly what you're looking for. And remember, you don't go to a dealership, all right? You will take delivery at their auto lounge at the El Dorado Hills Town Center. Again, it's EDH Motors. Get the information at edhmotors.com. And I am looking for a rant with Grant tonight, brought to you by EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. Kings and Jazz are going to be tipping off here in about 30 minutes or so, and we'll all be back at halftime to break it down, and we'll have the post-game show where we invite your phone calls after what I think will be a lopsided win.
Agree 100%.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, I knocked on wood twice for you.
Not. I mean, I'll take a 1-point win, but this should be a breather. There is no way in the world the Kings should not destroy the Utah Jazz tonight.
I don't want to see any of the key guys playing more than 27 minutes tonight.
Great point.
No.
Sabonis was not bugged about only playing 27 the other night. Speaking of guys, Jerry, Markelle Fultz, I have been pleasantly surprised by what he has done for this team. What do you see his role possibly being, and how many minutes would you like to see him on the floor going forward?
Well, you know, I think I think maybe his role could be expanded a little bit. You know, it certainly defensively helps him. He definitely has a real feel out there. You can see that. Now he's turned the ball over too much, but that's partly just he won't once he gets a little more time and comfort with his team. So, yeah, I could see him being a 15, 20-minute guy. Now it's going to cut into Monk. It's going to cut into some guys, but I think this team needs somebody that can do some of the things that he can do. Is get the team into a flow offensively, and I think we'll start seeing his playmaking skills come out a little more as we go here.
And
Well,
to
I think
follow,
everyone's going to play tonight. That's for sure.
yeah, I think you would hope so. Even Mason Jones, love to see him get some time.
Yeah.
Trey Lyles did not get into the game until the third quarter. He was not in Doug's rotation right off the bat. Do you think that was a situational thing, or those minutes up for grabs?
Yeah, that was. I was surprised, obviously, and truthfully, Trey came in and really made a difference right away. So it is one of those things. I think with all the new people, it's hard to play everybody. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. Everybody wants to play 32, 35 minutes. Well, they can't. And so, but I am surprised. I think, he's wanting to get a better look at Jake LaRavia. And, but I kind of think this team needs a role for Trey. Maybe, I think Trey could take a few of Keegan's minutes, really. I mean, you lose something defensively, but you probably gain a little bit off.
See, to me, as this game gets in a rearview mirror, I think the bench is going to become shorter when I look at the upcoming schedule. Jerry always says you got to play your best guys. I don't think there's going to be room to be playing a lot of guys in this after tonight. I just don't. I think the schedule is too difficult, and whereas you could definitely say the Kings bench is deeper than it was before the trade deadline, I don't know how Doug's going to do that. I still want, as Jerry always talks about, I need my best players on the floor for most of the game. And that's where we're at right now. You're not beating Cleveland and you're not beating Boston, even though I know you beat them. You're not beating Oklahoma City. You're not beating Memphis. You're not beating the Warriors. You're not beating these teams coming up without playing your best players the bulk of the game. That's just the way I see it. LaRavia, I'm sorry, I don't see him playing that much. I just don't. I don't see how you're going to fit in this bench, which is deeper. I just don't know how it's going to happen.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think that's part of the problem, Grant, is that right now I don't know if Doug knows who his best players are. I mean, I think it's a sorting out period here, but hopefully in the next few games, because you're going to have to make some choices, and probably get to 8 guys who are going to play every night in some level of minutes. And who that 8 would be, I think there's still some, my mind, Fultz looks like it could be one of them. And I still think Trey Lyles is probably one of them, and probably Valanciunas and Ellis, those guys. But it's, it's like, to your point, Grant, as we've talked about, when you get in the playoffs, guys that when they've been playing 9 or 10 guys, all of a sudden play 7 or 8. I mean, you got days off, you got more rest. It's, the good players play more.
And it doesn't mean that there's not spot roles for guys like Jake LaRavia. There's times where the defense isn't humming. There's times where guys are not hustling. What do? You pull the alarm, you bring somebody in that's going to use their 6 fouls, give you a spark, and that's why you got him there. We've seen it with Kessler Edwards in the past. We've seen it across the board with this Kings team. So opportunities will be abound eventually.
Yeah. You're right. That's why you have a bench, and you can say, hey, you know what? You're not doing it, and give a quick hook. Don't forget about Bennett's Prime Seafood and Steaks, regardless of whether you're at the West Side Grill in Rockland or you're in Roseville or Sacramento. You get the same great seafood steaks. It's awesome. Prime Seafood and Steaks at Bennett's. Don't forget about their weekend brunch. You go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com, and you can make a reservation. That's Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Check everything out at Bennett's. Awesome Prime Seafood and Steaks, and give our best to Brian and the crew if you see them when you go to one of their 3 locations. Love talking about Bennett's, and would love to be there right now. But we are working. We got the Kings and the Jazz coming up in a little bit. We're going to step aside here in a minute, Ryan, and let you get everyone with the keys. And the key is don't have any injuries tonight. That's, to me, the only key for the Kings. I'm sorry, but that's how I'm looking at this game. This should be an absolute cakewalk. Don't play guys a lot of minutes. Get ready for Houston, and hopefully don't have any injuries.
Yeah, and I think the one key for me is, Ryno, you better not screw up. You better get them ready. Get that scheme correct.
Yeah, I've got a few ideas, Jerry, but I don't think my ideas make it to the office. Somehow I think they get cut off.
Oh, well, Well, we need to straighten that out. We need to get a pipeline from you to the
Yes.
office.
And Ryan, you have very often put the schedule up, but let's not kid anybody. After tonight, all right, you do have some games that you go, "Phew." Like San Antonio to me is a game like that. You should blow out San Antonio when they come in next week. You should beat the Bulls at home. But boy, oh boy, you look at the schedule upcoming. It is like, wow. All right, there it is. It is wow. And you better fasten your seatbelts with the teams that are coming up on this schedule.
You've got Jerry, would you call this a big boy homestand beginning on March 17th? Memphis, Cleveland, Chicago, Milwaukee, Boston, Oklahoma City. That's a back-to-back, by the way. And then Portland.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah, you better pull your jock strap on real tight and tighten those shoes and go to work.
Yep. You better go to work is right. So, Ryno, we'll let you go to work, my friend. Get everyone ready for tip-off, and then the three of us will be back at intermission.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Appreciate both
Thank
of
you, Jerry.
See you
All
guys.
right. Good stuff with Jerry and Ryno. Look forward to it. We'll watch the rest of your now officially moving from the Kings Roundtable to the pregame, and we'll talk to you, my friend, in probably like an hour, 20 minutes or so, hour and a half.
Looking forward to it. Thank you as always, Napes. What a fun show all the time. The Roundtable. What's up, everybody? Thanks for sticking around for that. Kings Jazz coming up in just a few minutes. How's everybody feeling about this one? I think we have pretty much hit most of the keys to this in terms of who's in, who's out. The Kings, nobody listed on the injury report, surprisingly. Does not mean that Keon is not dealing with that ankle. He is day to day, but I think Grant makes a very good point about this is the last game until you really start to get tested. And we'll see. What's up, MC? How you doing? Pressure, I gotta say, Pressure Flippers has been really stirring the pot around here when it comes to Warriors content. Now he stirred the pot with Grant. How about that? The Red Roof Inn. No, it is not the Red Roof Inn. Man, we are still guessing where in the world is Ryno at. See, that's the beautiful thing about my job. I can still do my job and be with all you, do my shows, and travel around the world. You have no idea where I am at, but I'm with you, which makes me happy. For the Jazz tonight, look, don't let them shoot a ton of threes. I guess that's really your big key. Grant said, don't get hurt. You can't get hurt. No, it's not the Holiday Inn, PK. The Holiday Out. Yes, nice try. Nice try. We went over some of the keys earlier. Let's go to some of our other screens. We talked about the schedule. Obviously, that's coming up. And when we look at the strength of schedule, that's going to be changing by the day. We put this graphic up earlier. And as we sit today coming into play, the Kings have the second hardest schedule in the NBA. Good thing is Phoenix, one ahead of them. That's how it plays out. But really, schedule talk is just that. It's schedule talk. For this team, it's one game at a time because they put themselves in that spot. They have had those losses. They lost 6 straight at home before Christmas to put themselves in this spot where every single game matters to get into a play-in. If you are 10, that means you've got to win 2 to get into the dance, and you're probably going to have to win 2 against, like Grant said, a good Minnesota team, Dallas team. Are the Clippers going to fall back? So we'll see. But bringing you back out to what we are looking at tonight, the Kings are a 9.5-point favorite. I am surprised that it's not a little bit more. Let's go ahead and update this. See if anything has changed on the injury front. Nope, still nobody listed for the Kings on there. No John Collins, who is a first-team King killer, no doubt about that. Lowry not playing either. Colin Sexton, Taylor Hendricks not playing as well. So really, Doug Christie should be able to play most of the guys that are dressed tonight to get some action. As for your G League guys, the Stockton Kings played this afternoon. They won by 12 points. So Isaac Jones not with the team. I believe Devin Carter will not be in Utah either. No, in fact, he will not be in Utah unless he made a flight after the game because he had 34 points today, I believe it was. So not a lot to this one, y'all. So give me your score predictions, and we're going to get ready to send you out. I feel like we had a great roundtable show there. Not much to really talk about. King's goal went from playoffs to play in, being better than Spurs. Shake my head. Well, hey, Flores, dude. I ain't happy about it either, but did you think play in the day Mike Brown was fired? Let's be real about it. I don't think any of us were thinking play in when Mike Brown was fired. We were thinking rebuild. You know? You remember, well, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to say his name. Utah, really, Sam? Sam, I've seen you in the chat trolling a little bit. You really think Utah wins this game, Sam? All right. All right, Sam. Sam says 119,
That's terrible.
13. We'll see. DSC 120, 113. I do too, Edward. See, 100%. That's what I want to see. That is what I want to see. I want to see a team that comes out and doesn't give a crap about who's across from them. What they care about is their standard. Now, we don't really know what the Kings standard is quite yet, because they're still fairly young in this journey with this new team and 3-4 new guys on it. But I want to see the standard. I don't care if you're playing Boston or if you're playing New Orleans. Play to the best of your abilities and don't have a quarter with 8 turnovers. Get out of here. Let's see. Rich, what's up, buddy? 120 to 100, Rich says. And here's the other thing. Create some energy. The Kings need to get out and run tonight. And run smart. If you can get out and run, you are just going to suck whatever little energy is in that Utah building out of it tonight. Don't give those fans a reason to believe. Don't do it. Don't do it. We're looking forward to having full coverage of the game tonight for you, as you know, all night long here on the channel. We appreciate everybody for supporting us. And if you don't mind, give us a thumbs up. We would really appreciate it. The Kings don't know their identity with all... Edward, the Kings didn't know their identity before all these new players, man. What has been the Kings' identity? Excuse me, let me check that. Hold on, let me check that. What has been the Kings' positive identity the last 2 or 3 years? And don't say three-point shooting, because every NBA team is a three-point shooting team. What's been their identity? Nobody can name it. We don't know. They're still looking for one. Like John Finch, for instance. His identity, asparagus. Like if you go to Finch's house, you know to stay the hell away from the bathroom. John Finch, asparagus guy. He has an identity. I said positive identities. What is a positive identity of this team? It's a play. It's not an identity. DHO? No. An identity is like Doug Christie. What's he say all the time? Punch first. We want to hit first. We want our opponents to feel us. When the Kings do that, good things usually happen. They just don't do it consistently. I think probably inconsistency has been the Kings' identity, but they look to change that. They look to turn that around. And look, this fan base, this team has got a little bit of an opportunity that many of us did not think that they would have after the Mike Brown firing. So again, identity, fast pace. It wasn't fast paced last year. This year, not really. Sometimes when it's good, you know what, Wolf? I'll give you that. When it's good, absolutely. Absolutely. I think what this identity, what this team wants to be is they want to be 5 as 1. They want their identity to be cohesiveness. That would be in Doug Christie's perfect little world. He would want 5 to be able to play as 1. When we see them do that, it works really well. Everybody's touching the ball. I would say for 3 quarters, you saw them do that. Look at me, I'm doing the Trump hands. It's weird. You saw them do that against Charlotte, but then you have that one really bad quarter, and it doesn't work out well. So I think for me, the ISO ball, that's what bugs me about it. That is what bugs me about it, because it goes against what they want to do. You smell fantastic. Okay. Sure, John. John, dude, there's no way that like you don't smell like asparagus. It comes through your sweat glands. It has to, man. You eat asparagus every day. It's all good. I love asparagus. I just know the limitations when you eat asparagus, right? Just saying, man. Just saying, brother. Good citizen. What's up? Utah is last in deflections. Would be a good team to find an offensive flow. Look, you're going to have a very, very, very unhappy Ryno and Sacktown at halftime. If we come out and we have a game that resembles anything like the Golden State game offensively in the first half, where it's grenades being thrown everywhere, it's the basketball being picked up in areas of the floor where it shouldn't be picked up, where it's a ton of ISO, where it's shot clock violations, where it's turnovers out of timeouts. That should not happen. Like a turnover out of a timeout is maybe a once every 2 or 3 game instance. It happens every night with the Kings. That's the stuff that's got to be cleaned up. So yes, great point about the deflections. By the way, not sure if you heard, but I posed this at the end of my show earlier. This was the G1C's response to De'Aaron Fox going on the scoreboard to say the next home game was against San Antonio. Check out the reaction. Oh, we're not plugged in. My bad. My bad, y'all. See, there are limitations to being on the road. Here you go.
Oh my God.
Is that a little en bouche of what to expect when he comes back to Sacramento? Probably. We'll see. I think it was the Kings dipping their toe in the pool to see what the fans would do, trying to gauge what is going to happen, because you don't want to roll out the red carpet and have a bunch of pissed off fans. Anyways, Kings Jazz, Keon Ellis, will he get minutes? Will he not? You shouldn't really need him. Should be, again, a runaway. Look, it's still even though the Jazz don't have their best guys, still an NBA team, y'all. They're still going to be all right, but don't give these guys a reason to believe. And make sure, too, that you come back. Join us at the half. Looking forward to having Jerry back with us. We will be breaking down the first half. Also, we'll be taking your phone calls after the game, as we do every game with the post-game show. You'll get a rant from Grant. We'll see who pisses him off tonight. Who's it going to be? I think it was PK last night. Pressure's already got some today, so maybe it'll be you, but you got to show up to be a part of that. We'll open up the phones to you after this one. Looking forward to it. Enjoy the first half. We will see you at the end of the first 24 minutes. Grant, Jerry, myself, back with you. Go Kings.